Great. Thanks very much for the prayer, Stefan. And well, without a long introduction, I suggest that I pass the floor to our three speakers of the evening, and then I'm sure we will have time to exchange and ask questions, comment. So who would like to start?
I think it's me. Shall I share the slides or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
That was also why, well, oh yeah, you have the title here of the talk, so please
It
go ahead.
worked, so fine. It's not always working, but it worked. Okay, so let me put in presentation mode. Up. Your computer is not the only one which is a little bit slow. Okay, it's coming. Okay, so here we are. So the subject that was assigned to us three is what are the long-term targets for the Spiritist groups? And we had two preparation meetings with Pekka and Ingo on the subject. And of course, the long-term target for the Spiritist groups is also linked to the long-term target of the Spiritism itself. Why did the Spirits bring these teachings? Why happened what happened at the mid of the 19th century with Allan Kardec? And that's basically stated since 1857 in the Spirit's book itself, in the introduction, or even before the Prolegomenon. There is a statement that we have quoted here. It's by Allan Kardec, and he's writing that the Spirits have announced that the time appointed by Providence for a universal manifestation has now come, and that as ministers of God and agents of the divine will, their mission is to instruct and enlighten men and women, opening a new era for the regeneration of humankind. So clearly something happened. The divine providence and the workers of God came, the good spirits, to give some teachings. And they say that the time has come for a universal manifestation. What is this universal manifestation? I think it's mediumship, the universal, this collaboration between incarnated and disincarnated spirits. And why did they come? To instruct and enlighten men and women. And this instruction has as an objective to open a new era for the regeneration of humankind. So this got developed later in the codification, and we know that the Earth is now in the transition phase between a world of trials and expiations. How is the name expiation in English? I don't remember anymore. Expiations and trials, and that it is shifting to a world of regeneration, where there will be a better equilibrium between good and evil, whilst today still evil is dominating over the good here on Earth. And these teachings that the spirits are bringing are aiming, they have this objective to change the humanity. So it may look a little bit oversized, whatever, ambitious or whatever, but this is what the spirits came and said. They spoke also to Kardec. This is a quote from the spirits themselves. Be zealous and persevering in this work you have undertaken with our assistance. Again, this was published in the first spirits book, dated 1857. It was only the beginning of this work of the mission of Kardec, the first book, even the first revision of the first book. And we all know what happened later on until his return to the spiritual world in 1869, writing 5 other books, 5 books in total, plus some smaller books, plus the Spiritist magazine and so on. And clearly the spirits gave him assistance till the end. For this work is ours. So it's Kardec was here as we say, codificator. He did not, the ideas do not come from him, they come from the spirits. So the ideas, the content is coming from the good spirits. Albeit Kardec has made outstanding analysis work. In it, in it, we have laid the foundations of the new edifice destined to someday unite all humankind in one and the same sentiment of love and charity. So here again, there is another objective, clearly, for the Spiritist teachings, is to someday, so this someday was already said 165 years ago, and we are not there yet. So this someday is still to come. Unite all humankind in one and the same sentiment of love and charity. And what we know behind this is these teachings really came to bring this new faith, which is allying the faith with the reason. We have faith in something in the teachings because we have understood them. So it's much stronger than the past blind faith coming from the traditional religions. And what is the purpose of this faith? But it's the era of regeneration, which is characterized by this same unity and the same sentiment of love and charity. And this is basically the message that Jesus brought already 2,000 years ago. Love God above all, and love your neighbor as you love yourself, and do unto the others what you would like the others to do to you. So this message came already by Jesus, but it was forgotten, and it has been brought back by the spirits in the prolegomena. So clearly, what should be the target of the Spiritist group is to work in order to achieve this overall target, which was clearly announced by the spirits. Now, before I hand over to my colleagues, a little bit more food for thought, coming from Léon Denis, Le Monde, the Invisible World and the War. It's a book that he wrote during the World War I and published in 1919. Where he is writing his opinion about this subject. What must be the essential objective of Spiritism? First of all, to provoke, search for, and coordinate experimental proofs of survival. So you see, he has a vision which is a little bit different. Proof of survival, well, Kardec got it. For him, it was an evidence, but still today, there are so many people still skeptical. This is not true. It's hallucination. It's whatever. Still denying that they have a soul, ignoring all these powers they have in themselves. This is still, unfortunately, the case of a lot of people. So Léon Denis stressing really, we have to push this research to coordinate it. To bring this proof on the table of the survival. I mean, existence of the soul is the first step, and the survival of the soul after what we call death is the second step. He's continuing, this search for truth must be pursued by means of rigorous and methodical control. The just demands of the modern mind require us to sift all facts by impartial examination, and we must guard against the dangers of credulity and premature assertions. So you see, nothing of superstition, nothing of precipitation, theories which are not validated, misleading the believers and the other people, and this may be also making that the Spiritist teachings or body of knowledge are losing credit in the public opinion and so on. So it needs to be something serious. By relying on the well-established proofs on solid foundations, Spiritists must prepare and renovate the scientific, rational, and moral education of man in all walks of life. So Denis is here complementing, saying, okay, scientific is what he developed in the first paragraph, rational, it's the same, and he's adding the moral consequences of this discovering. Yes, the universe has a beginning, for instance, the Big Bang, so it must have been created by something, and this something is God. Yes, we have a soul, and this soul is surviving to death. Okay, and now what are the souls saying? Okay, they are saying, I have done this and that things, and now I'm in a bad shape. And the other one are saying, I have done rather different things, and now I'm in a good shape. So they immediately after these moral consequences come, and this is a step that Kardec made. So this is just to introduce the Spirits brought a knowledge that must be put available to everyone. This knowledge, the purpose is to help in humanity for a new era, this era of the world of regeneration. And third, yet there is still this alliance of the belief and the science, of the science and the morality to be developed as a mean to reach this goal, as Léon Denis is taking here. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say quickly, just for the introduction. So now I hand over to, shall I continue showing the slides? Sorry, there is a third one. Let's quickly just read the last one. The action of Spiritism must therefore be exercised in all fields. So he's giving targets to the groups. Experimental, doctrinal, which means the body of knowledge, moral, and social. There is in it a regenerating element from which we can expect everything, hope for everything. It can be said that this is destined to become the great liberator of thought, which has been enslaved for so many centuries. It is he who will increasingly sow the seeds of goodness and human brotherhood in the world, and these seeds will bear fruit sooner or later. So he's now describing the objective of the groups and how this mechanism will propagate in the humanity. Okay, so that's it for the introduction this time. Okay, now Pekka, I think, no? High-level objectives.
Yes, let's.
Want to share or just tell me when you want to go to the next slide?
I think you can go to the next slide. And I was thinking that in this, or we were thinking that in this, how to say, this gathering, there will be assistants and people looking from different locations and different living environments. And we were thinking that what would be the, let's say, for Spiritist groups, the first steps and the final steps. And as the topic is that what are the long-term targets of the Spiritist teaching, and why have the teachings been brought to us? So there is highlighted, let's say, 4 main reasons to reveal something, what is detailed below, to explain, to establish, and to facilitate. And we can have a review. So the first of all, it was to reveal the existence of God as a creator of the universe. As Charles mentioned, there is logical to think that this Big Bang and all, how to say, well systematically formed universe and life. It is not randomly established chaos. It is organized systematic construction, and it has reason and creator. There was also revealed that we are not just a material bodies, as it has been explained by materialistic science, and there is really something immaterial what Kardec and which spirits are explaining and nominating as spirits or souls. And nowadays science is mostly talking about consciousness. And by that way, there is two naturals. We have our, let's say, spiritual nature and the physical nature. And it gives us also it reveals information to spiritual world, which is the world where we come from and where we will return. And that's actually the primary world. And this material world where we are now, it's some kind of secondary world where we are learning and progressing. And there was also revealed the possibility to communicate with spiritual world. So phenomenon, this communication with spiritual world, it's as old as humankind is, but it gives systematic, let's say, explanation and reasonable explanation and guidelines to proceed with this capacity or capabilities. And it also revealed evolution of souls based on reincarnation and multiple lives. And this was actually not also, it was linked with this spiritual world, and it was logically clarified how these are linking in with each others. And there is explained that there is divine laws, same way like that material laws for like gravity, which concern the material world. There is also moral laws. And for example, law of cause and effect, and how these moral laws, how they apply in our life. And based on that, it established, there is possible to establish regular communication between incarnates and disincarnates, and especially with the higher spirits which are guiding us. So we have that possibility, and we can learn and we can take a big benefit from that. And the final, and which was explained to the main target for this, is to facilitate moral evolution in order to encourage each individual spirit to develop to charity and love. So when we have understanding regarding moral laws, then we really want to, based on this knowledge, we want to transform our life better, with better thoughts, better sentiments, better acts, and based on that, we come to the charity and love. And please go to the next page. So how this concerns to the spiritist groups, and what are the targets for spiritist groups? So first of all, they are place to study. We can review and we can read and think and get, let's say, information which allows us to have a new, different view for our life. And when we have this different view of our life, it's the place, this Spiritist group is the place to practice these teachings. And these teachings are, for us, they are advising to us to go to practice charity. And if there is mediumistic capabilities, so of course there is possible to work and take these capabilities to serve. One of these targets is to disseminate of the Spiritist teaching. So there is a lot of information which has been giving so much content for our lives, and it gives us the courage to continue and proceed. And if these teachings has been helping us so much, so they are to be shared. And we know that many people, they have been at least here in Finland, I know in Brazil also, they have been planning their suicide with very depressed, but then when they were reading and learning and understanding what are reasons behind of that, they have been able to go over these difficulties and then continue to building new future. So it's important that this information is shared. And there is one which was, let's say, more highlighted by Leon Denis, is to research and further develop the Spiritist teachings. And also Kardec, he mentions that Spiritism is science. And in the science, we have to understand that we don't understand and we don't know everything yet. So there is huge field of research and further development to learn and understand and practice. And of course, one of the purpose of the Spiritist groups is that we can collaborate with other Spiritist groups and with others. And it can be educational institution. For example, there are people who are really studying philosophy, they are studying medicine and other things. So Spiritism has a lot of information which can provide support for them. So this collaboration, I think it's important, and it should not be, let's say, forgotten also. And I finalize my part, and I would like to ask Ingo to continue.
Yeah, thank you, Pekka. Thank you, Charles. So we are further breaking down these topics just explained by Pekka. Charles, if you would go to the next one. So we said at first, Spiritist groups are a place to study the Spiritist teaching. And study, this means first of all, studying the basic books of the teachings, studying the Spirit's books, the Gospel, and all the other books. But then also looking at complementary books from Leon Denis, Chico Xavier, and all the others. And it's about studying and educating about the mediumship. What is it all about? How to communicate with the invisible world. And whatever we do with studying and education, it can be face-to-face, hybrid, virtual. So whatever means we have, and how we further develop as humans. There will be new means arising, so we should use what is available. So at the end, it's really education for children, for youth, and for adults. And what we are listing here is not exhaustive. This is just the main topics we see at the moment. There are certainly much more elements. And one we feel very important is to apply the Spiritist teachings to our day-to-day troubles, problems, challenges. Because the moment we look at our day-to-day problems, and then we look at the Spiritist teaching and the answer the teaching would bring, then you get an even better understanding of the teachings. And then people see and understand, and then they will get more interested, they will follow. And then we've listed in all these sheets, we've listed also what are the notes and prerequisites. So certainly you need to have books in local languages available, and they need to be high quality translations. You need study groups also in local languages, because it's at the end the locals you want to convey this teachings to. You need certainly to build knowledgeable workers in order to do this translation and to function as a multiplier, and so on. Next slide, please. Then it's all about practicing the Spiritist teaching. And when we say practicing, well, it's practicing of love and charity. And the first thing we should look at is our members of our own Spiritist community. We need to help them, guide them, support them, because there will be ups and downs before they get to a mature level. And this is the core. This is our family, if you like, our bigger family. And then we said, well, it needs to be help and charity for incarnates. We can apply spiritual healing. We can apply prayers. We can provide fraternal conversation. We can provide spiritual help, and you name it. And certainly there's much more charity, but we feel that it's important in the first place to focus on the special and specific topics we have with the Spiritist teaching, because that is something where we can distinguish from the other. And that will help and open and, let's say, complement to existing food tables, existing charity, and so on. Nevertheless, keeping in mind that the provision of charity is always helping us as well with our moral transformation. And as a third element, to help and provide charity for discarnates. During the mediumistic work, we helped souls, we help them to find their way into the light. With prayers, we help discarnates, and so on and so forth. And again, what are the prerequisites for this? Well, you need to have a mature group of Spiritist workers. So if you start with a few people, it takes time to grow, to have a certain maturity, and that takes maybe years before you are able to provide charity and help to others. First, build your own community. It requires solidarity and stability. And it's really about putting the theory into practice, because just studying theory is one thing, but putting it into practice makes a difference. And it needs to be governed by love and indulgence. Next slide, please. Well, then it's all about to disseminate. And my feeling is, especially during the last years of Corona, we have boosted this dissemination strongly. And dissemination means really looking at a systematic publishing and implementation plan. and putting quality before quantity and speed. And again, use any kind of channels. Consider any ages. Consider different degrees of knowledge. Consider also the different adherence to spiritualism, to see how ready people are. So the more we adapt our teachings to our target groups, the better, the easier they will understand. And again, certainly using YouTube channels, internet pages, social media, and so on, and also cooperating with magazines, event organizers, educational institutions. So let's not be shy. Organize public talks and events with feedback, collect contacts, improve presentations, and so on and so forth. And again, also to do this, you need really a mature group of Spiritist workers, because all of this requires people with knowledge, people with communication skills, and you need dedication, and so on. Next one, please. Well, then we've learned from Leon Denis, well, Spiritist groups are also a place to research and further develop the Spiritist teaching, because the human beings we are all developing, and with this, we also need to further develop the Spiritist teaching. And of course, we want to reach out into areas like medicine, like psychology, like science, like philosophy, and so on. And we feel that just reaching out from a Spiritist group to these areas will be difficult. We feel that that probably the best way or the best method is that this is driven by experts from science, philosophy, and medicine, who are in parallel also Spiritists, because they know both. They know the language and the knowledge of the medicine, of the science, and they have understood Spiritism, and from there they can build the bridge steadily. And we see this already happen. We have a good example of Brazilian professors who are strongly engaged, for example, in medicine, Alexander Moreira Almeida, for example, and others, who are going this way in the US, here and there. So these things are happening, and that's wonderful. Well, and when we talk about science, well, it's of course, especially also the science of the spiritual world and the science of its interaction with the material world. So, and last not least, as I said already, we need to further develop and progress with ourselves, with the way we study, we progress, we practice, and so on. I mean, when you look back, Moses wrote on stone. Kardec used books. And what are we using? We are using digital means, videos, and so on and so forth, and that's fine. So Kardec didn't know about video, so he couldn't write anything like that in the Spirits book. And consider virtual mediumistic meetings. 200 years ago, nobody knew about such thing, and we might in the future have spiritual mediumistic meetings when we all communicate through thoughts, for example, but we are not there yet. We are now starting with the virtual one, but I'm sure we will reach that level as well, and so on. Right. And then the last bullet, it's to collaborate. Spiritist groups are also a place to collaborate, because we are not on an island, and it's important for us to collaborate with other Spiritist groups, how we do, but also with spiritualist groups. And it's important that we allow and respect other views and also other ways into the light. Because when we look and try to understand what is the truth, how is it defined, well, other teachings, other religions, they look at the very same, just from a different angle. They might use different words, but at the end, it's all the very same we look at. And the second thing we feel is very, very important is that we consider a non-hierarchical structure. We don't want to go the way old religions have gone, because at the end, if you start being hierarchical, it becomes very human. It's driven with selfishness, ego, and so on and so forth. So this doesn't work. It's all about the free will. It's about autonomy and not heteronomy. So really, we need to look at a non-hierarchical level. And even if we have federations, then they should facilitate the discussion amongst the group, but not lead the groups from a hierarchical point of view. So it's about collaborating on an equal footing by content, by providing arguments and reasons. And as said, not only to spiritist groups, but also to other groups, spiritualists, and so on and so forth. And what does this require? Well, it requires to be open-minded, to have dedicated followers, and to give up anything on power and control. And I guess, yeah, with this one, I'm at the end. If you move to the next slide. So this is what we have developed and discussed over the last 2 meetings, Charles, Pekka, and myself. As said, is not exhaustive, and we are very happy to have an open discussion on these topics. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you very much. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Pekka. Thank you, Ingo, for all this rich food of thought, which really can help all of us. But it would be great to have an exchange with all of you. So if anyone would like to comment or suggest something, ask questions to our 3 speakers. But first of all, really great. Thank you for preparing all of that. Thanks a lot. And please go ahead, just fire away. Yes, please, Guilherme, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Lovely presentation, indeed. I see so many topics that are huge for Spiritist movement. But something came to my mind. When we talk about long-term goals, those goals have been set by Kardec himself and the spirits at that time. What is a long-term goal? Is a generation time, 5 years, 10 years, 200 years? I'm more like inclined to work in milestones, if I can say like that. Bear in mind that I'm familiar to work with projects, so my mindset is like milestones. I think if I establish milestones for 5, 10 years, is something that boosts people morale in the movement. When I establish some goals for 200 years, 300 years, it's unachievable in our lifetime. So you restrain the amount of people that will jump into your project to add to your project. I think we need something more open. We need to attract the youth. We're missing, well, look at here. How many people with less than 30 years old we have in this meeting? Not many, I guess. So we need to attract the youth because they are the future. They are the future. So if we work in milestones like 5 to 10 years, something that we can put our hands on and make it happen. Of course, maybe on the end of the 5 years, we won't achieve everything, but at least we'll be able to see and measure the progress. And that will boost people morale to continue the process. So I'm more like working small milestones. I think it's positive. Yeah, I love it. And one thing that well, there are so many things on the presentation that I think is lovely. When you talk about research and development, it's not only for doctors, PhD people. I can guarantee it's not. I'm involved in a project that's not only made by PhD people. And sometimes those PhD people, they have a hard time to understand the spiritual world as such. So we need to have a mix of both to make things progress. But it's fair to say that when we talk about developing anything, people are afraid to do so. They don't like to be involved. They don't have time. They don't know. They don't believe. They don't want to be involved. And we lack that will in the movement for so long. When Kardec was here, he had people working with him, trying to develop. After Denise, Delan, and others, they tried, and they did their part, they bit. Nowadays, we really think that it's not for me. It's for more like, I will wait for something to come, but I don't want to commit myself to do something like that. And it's possible to do. I can guarantee it's possible to do. And I'm talking too much already, but I think we need to do something to attract the youth. They will have what we don't have. They are prepared by the spiritual world to complete and continue this job we are doing here. So we need to bring the youth into everything we do. Don't be afraid about doing so. Thank you.
Maybe I could make a first comment as well. Every time Kardec himself made the provision, giving a deadline for it, he was wrong. Yeah? He basically wrote things like a question of 2 or 3 generations when the young people are educated with the principle of Spiritism, the Spiritism will generalize. I think instead of generation, he should have written maybe reincarnations. It would be more realistic because the 2 or 3 generations are gone since a long time, and yet we are only 0.4% of the humanity as spiritists. Okay. Now I fully agree with you, Guilherme. For instance, to have the Spiritist books translated into a new local language, this is something that we can put some deadlines because it's a project. So clearly we should, as it has been splitted, structurate this by projects. And for each project, then of course, we need to define the deadline, we need to define the resources and need to call youth on board and so on. And I fully agree in this. But when will the word of regeneration come? Only God knows. And I think he has also the control of it. We just adjusting a little bit, increasing the speed of good spirits coming, incarnating on earth, and lower spirits incarnating somewhere else. If you adjust this a little bit, it can go quite quickly. But we can also understand that everyone needs a chance, even the one which are a little bit behind. So this is up to God and his minister to judge. And that's, I think, a key factor. And for them, 200 years is a second in front of the eternity.
Just I see Pekka raised his hand. Please go ahead.
Okay. I was sharing this screen, and I will try to do it again. One moment. Okay, so this was something, I'm not sure if you can see it, but this was something what I was trying to share. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this was in the plan when we were discussing this presentation, and all systematic work, it should have milestones or goals, or let's say midterm and long-term targets. But it's very hard for us to say in different locations what would be the content of the each milestone. So I think that the comment what Guilherme gave, it's something that which everybody could think about in their own living environment and in their own group. So that what would be the reasonable targets. And I'm also working in my professional life. I have to work with like that. But when I have been working with Spiritist divulgation, I have seen that it's not in my hands. It's something happened which changed everything and much better than I have been never expecting. So I think that we have to be careful and ready to modify these milestones, because sometimes the things are not happening as we are thinking, and that's the I like your comments and I like your understanding away, because it's basically how I was thinking also, but it's really hard for anybody to give, let's say, main guide. Maybe some main guidelines can be given, but this is these midway targets or roadmap where is the different level and stations. There are something what I think that everybody who is working in a Spiritist group and trying to develop this should think about. And I personally liked very much, it came from Ingo, this idea that Moses was using stone, Kardec was using book. What we should do, go back to the stone or doing something else. I think it was good way to express, to make, let's say, ourselves to think about. So that's my words. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It's really nice, a nice image of progress. What you just mentioned, Becca, moving from stone to books and continuing virtually. I really like that as well. Please Ingo, maybe we would like to explain more about it, or say something else. You raised your hand as well.
Yeah, first of all, the thanks goes to our mentors in our groups, because they gave this picture of Moses and Kardec and so on. When we had a hot debate before about virtual mediumistic meeting, should we go that way or not? Because many people had a lot of anxiety. Well, Guilherme, I liked very much what you said. I mean, what we've tried to explain top down sort of is this overall objectives. And first I thought now each group needs to start and make out of this some more concrete milestones and so on. But I think it's not only that. I think we need to do more on a group level and on this international level, because at the end, it's important that we don't all invent the wheel, you know, because many groups have gone through certain phases, situations, and so on and so forth. And not everybody needs to make every experience. The more we share our experience, the easier it is. So we learn from each other. And I think, therefore, this collaboration is very, very important. And not only within a country, but across countries like we do, and like what is very much the purpose of this European Spiritist gathering. And I think we should really use this forum also and other forums to consider what could we further develop and build projects of different people. It doesn't matter how heterogeneous the group is, but then start, okay, let's do this or let's do that, and let's see how much capacity is available, and then simply do it and make a plan and then execute. Let's not wait for somebody from the top to define these are milestones, and now you group go do this, you group do that, because we want to have this autonomous and collaborative working, which requires much more engagement from ourselves, from individuals and so on, but which allows also much more chances, because we are using much more this swarm intelligence, if you like. And yeah, I think we should use this much more and encourage people to work with us and to come up with ideas, and even sometimes we fail, but then we learn and do it better next time. But yeah, I would also encourage to go that way.
As everyone is quiet, let me use this silence. I think I like very much what you said, Ingo, because I think that's the way forward. Sometimes we tend to remain too much in the philosophical area of the Spiritism instead of hands-on acting in a project, establish what we want to do, what we can do, and that's what we are missing. Because the philosophy is there. The basis of the philosophy, I don't think will change. The philosophy may have some adaptation as we move forward, but the main part of the philosophy is already there. What we miss is how to, like Leon Denis was saying, how to prove what we believe exists. And there's only one way to prove: practice, exercise, try, make mistakes, try again. Like you said, I think that's the way forward. That should be the way forward.
Yeah, if anyone could or would like to share some examples, some practical examples of what, what you've put in practice already, or ideas that you have in your groups, that would be really interesting to hear and exchange about.
Well, I can tell you something that it was some years, maybe 1 decade ago, when I was visiting in Belgium, and they had, I think it was Jean Paul from Belgium, telling that they have been preparing audiobooks, and it's something simple idea what we got there, and now we have several audiobooks, and people are, let's say, loving that. So it's the idea we came, and it was never for sure it was in our thoughts, and we are continuing producing the audiobooks, and it's just an example that it doesn't need to be something, let's say, rocket science or something marvelous. It can be a practical thing, and it has been helping to us. We have been this kind of experience exchange, it's very valuable, and I know that we have a lot of learn from each other. And this gathering what we are having here, we have here people who are willing to proceed and trying to go ahead, and this exchange of ideas what we are having, it will support us all. So just example is what I can give to you is the audiobooks, what we got to ideas, and then we implemented it. And there is thousands of people nowadays here in Finland who has been listening Karek's books, and many of them, they have problem with how to say, they have visual, they cannot see, or they have very limited possibility with readings, and just example. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pekka. May I ask where you publish the audio books? On general channels, or on your
we have in our association, we have YouTube channel, and in this YouTube channel we have books available. You just go there, and it's like you take any music from how to say, from YouTube. You can read, and wherever you are.
There is audiobooks in French as well. So perhaps even in English, I don't know. So that's a very good initiative, helping a lot of people.
And they should be periodically, let's say, published. So then it will, otherwise they will remain there and nobody see it. But when we put it, and we have received people who has been telling us that they received the information regarding this audiobooks and it was transforming them. So it's everything. I don't believe that it was accident for him. So just example.
May I give another example? Yeah. We have a group of spiritist centers in more than one country working together as we speak in a project. This project is to make questions and have answers from the spirits, following what Kardec did at his time, using tools that are a bit different. We will use internet, softwares, apps, but the methodology is basically the same as Kardec did. We are trying to duplicate what he did with very specific topics related to the science. And we have so far people from different origins, different backgrounds, even different beliefs, to be honest. And it's possible. If you have a strong methodology, if you are serious about it, it's possible. And through Charles, I learned there was a similar initiative a few years ago, a bit different. And I think there is things like that will happen more often if we allow ourselves to be part of it. When we have regular meetings with the spirits that are guiding us through the job, because this will only work because of the spirits. It's not a human job, it's a spirit work. So we work with them, we have regular meetings with them, we receive instructions from them, and they told us, well, we may not be able to answer all your questions, but there's a lot of questions already to be answered. So I think we need to believe. We need to believe in the possibilities that the Spiritism gave to us almost 200 years ago, but we are so afraid to try. Why we are afraid to try? Don't we believe in ourselves? Are we not prepared to give our own time? Because this is one of the problems. We think it's nice if someone does, but I'm not prepared to open my time, part of my weekend, part of my day, to do something like that. So, but if we are committed and if we prepare ourselves properly to work with the spirits, because it has to be good benefactors, if I can say like that, right? If I prepare myself, if I open part of my agenda, if I'm really committed to something, things will happen. Could be from an audiobook, could be from a different project, could be open more mediumship meetings. For example, we are having mediumship meetings for beginners online. Who would try to do something like that? We did, and it's working for almost a year now. No problem at all. But perhaps I'm too afraid to try. I don't believe in my benefactors enough to do something they are telling me is safe. So that's another thing. So if we are open, really open to improve the Spiritism as a whole, it will improve. If we are not prepared to give our time, to give our commitment, to really work with the spirits, then is another thing.
Can I say something? I don't know if you know me, but I am from the Spiritist group in Sheffield, at the north of England. What I am finding, especially now, I mean, our group has started nearly 25 years ago, but it remained a very small group. We haven't really been able to attract many people. There has been many people walk through the doors, but they come and they go in the same way. They don't last for very long, and I think that is one of the problems, that people don't commit. It's hard for them to commit. I think Guilherme has a very valid point there, that people, we need to commit to do anything in our lives. And I think with the spirituality development, we think it's not necessary to commit our time to learning things. But what I've been finding as well is, with me, what has been more asked from me is fraternal assistance. It's in also availability of my time to be present, to help people fraternally out of the group. You know, because many people cannot come to the group on the day that we run the group. And there are a group of people as well here in Sheffield who don't speak English. So I have recently started a praying group online to assist those people. And that group also, there are people from all over, even from Brazil. And so I'm finding that people need different things. And there are people who are more after the mediumship side of spiritism, others who are more interested in the philosophical side, but others are after Jesus. You know, they want to feel the Jesus presence in their lives. And I think this time more than ever, what I feel that from the place where I am working, that is what is needed. People need to receive, to be part, you know, to know that there is someone there to assist them in their hour of need. And I think it's all about that, is the need, is what is it that people need. I know people here for over 20 years, and they have always known about the Spiritist group. They've always known I'm a Spiritist, but they never bothered. And then now their lives are totally falling apart, family problems and everything. And so they've come to me, Linda, I need to know about Spiritism, but I can't come to the group. So I have to be ready to assist these people. And it's not just when I'm talking about this one person. So I need to be ready to assist these people fraternally, you know, and I don't mind about giving my time, because if we are not ready to do that, then we are not working for Jesus, are we? We need to be able to give up whatever we can do with our time here to assist our brothers in need. So, and I also would like to know, Guilherme, from you, because you have mentioned about attracting the young. Have you got any like ideas on how you can do that? Because I have got 3 young people in my house, and my house is one of the houses that more young people come to in the region where I am. But it's the same thing. They come to me, they ask for help, but then they go. They don't stay. And I talk to them, to a lot of them about Spiritism, because a lot of them have also spiritual problems and things like that. But I give books away. I don't know if they read, but I think it's very hard for us to find a way to attract people from all ages to stay in a Spiritist group and to commit, to have responsibilities.
Well, I can share with you a little of the experience I had with the youth. The Spirit Center that I'm part of in Brazil is a Spirit Center that has 96 years of existence. And I know people, some of them still alive today. One of the guys that were part of the team that put together the real beginning of Spirit Center as such, because on the beginning it was very small inside someone's place. So we always open up our doors to everyone, regardless of the age. Myself, I started in the mediumship meeting when I was 15 years old. I'm bad. A lot of people will say that's wrong. It's not written anywhere in Kardec that could not happen, but people will say that's wrong. So the first thing we need to do to attract the youth is to stop having preconceptions. If a young fellow coming to you, 15, 16 years old, with mediumship problems, what does he need to know about mediumship? And eventually even be part of mediumship meetings like we did in Brazil several times. Today, they are not 16, 17 anymore. Some of them, they are now 20, 25, and still with us. But some of them, they came to us when they were 14 to 15 years old. And no doctor could fix the problem because you cannot fix mediumship. Mediumship is mediumship, period. But if you go to a center that is not prepared to help them, they will not stay. So my son is now 16 years old. And since he was 15 years old, he has been prepared to be an indoctrinator. And that instruction I received from the benefactors. They told me, it's time to your son to start. And we did, because we are familiar to work with the spirits. Am I a spiritist or not? Is the one question that I always like to remember. If I'm a spiritist, I need to work with the spirits. The spirits we can rely, of course. So open possibilities to the youth. Why we will hide some information from the youth? Why we want to give only certain type of information to the youth? Some young fellows, they will stay in spiritism if they realize there is science behind the spiritism. Because remember, the philosophy, some of them, they know that for generations. They are eternal spirits that probably know better than us what Jesus told us. And sometimes what they need now is to be acquainted to not to the philosophical part of the spiritism, but to the science. And when you said that, oh, I need to do fraternal assistance, that's just the main door. Because quite often people that come to fraternal assistance, they have problems with mediumship, they have problems, several different types of problems. And from that point, we need to be prepared to give something else, because only the fraternal assistance will not suffice. You give an example, you open up a prayer group online. Here we go, you did a massive milestone. You start something else. You are creating possibilities. So now, if you have a young fella coming to, hey, I have that here, come to us here. But for a young fella, that will not be sufficient. Remember that the younger generations, they are very fast, way faster than we are. If we don't give something faster to them, to keep them interacting with the subject, they will move away to something else more attractive. So we need to be prepared to feed information, short information, to attract attention, and eventually we can feed more, spend more time, not give a lecture for someone 15 years old, because we will scare them all. A 15-year-old kid today will not sit in a chair, listen to you for an hour. He won't. It's a different generation. Even the education process around the world, someone is already revising that. Some countries are revising, because the way we've been taught 15 years ago, we will not make it work for the younger generations. So I truly believe there are potential to involve young people if we think as they think. If we prepare ourselves to give what they need, and then in the future belongs to them, not to us. And remember, we all being teenagers, when we leave our school, university, to go to our professional world, there's a massive gap, because we also have to maintain our school levels, our professional levels. We need to create our families. So if you don't give them something attractive when they are 15, 16, 17, after we'll have a massive window. They may come back because we plant the seed, but they may come back only when they are 35, 40. So that's why we have this massive window on the Spiritism, because we don't think about the youth. No, I cannot. No, you're too young for that. You cannot go to that. You cannot do a lecture. You cannot go to a meeting. We have to rethink that. That's my take. And I see facts of what we did with young lads, young lasses back in Brazil, some of them with mediumship problems, if we can say problems, because people think it's a problem, and they are over there. They are working, they are healthy, and that's it.
Yeah. I understand, but I think we are working in Europe is a different reality. We in Brazil, Spiritism is much more known, well known, and everything. And everyone, most people have some sort of spirituality. They have some sort of belief. And over here, it's a lot harder to attract people when most people don't believe in God or don't have a belief. What they do is to deal with mediumship problems in different ways. They make their own choices. But when you talk about Spiritism, when you offer them any help, and you talk about Spiritism, like my own children, they don't believe in, I have brought them up as Spiritists. We've always done the gospel at home and everything. None of them come to the Spiritist Center. So because they might come back, and in your right, they might come back later on. But right now, the young that I meet, they don't want to know. They are spending their time doing other things. But I thank you for your examples.
Yeah, thanks a lot to all of you. And I also saw, Charles, you copied in the chat the link to the gathering of the International Spiritist Youth.
Yes. And it's interesting because these events for youth are organized by youth. And it's impressive. I was just there to collaborate a little bit in making simultaneous translation into 4 languages, you see. Did we manage to do that? Never. The youth did, you know. And this is what is impressive with them. So some initiatives are existing, and it's quite interesting. So the first gathering was in, I don't remember, November last year, and the second was in April this year. And by the way, tomorrow there will be a meeting of the working group of the young people, and I like it because it's impressive. I saw that also in Portugal, where the events were completely organized by the young people themselves, and you had the, how to say, coordinator just sitting and looking to the show. But just to complement, I think now maybe thinking also about the next steps. I think the key is to define some projects and deadlines and to tackle them. For instance, I don't know, revision of the Kardec's books translation in German could be an action. Then we seek for the people, groups, and so on, or in Estonian language or whatever. I mean, we shall start with these simple things and make projects out of it in order to create the dynamic, and hopefully not all the projects will work, but if we succeed in one or the other, it will be an example for the next ones.
Maybe also one more comment from my side. I'm not sure, I didn't get your name. It says Richard Walker.
It's I'm using my husband's Zoom. It's Lindauer.
Lindauer.
Lindauer. Yes, I'm from Brazil.
Lindauer.
I'm from
Okay,
Brazil.
fine.
Yes, my husband is from England, and we founded the group, the Spiritist group, nearly 25 years ago now.
Right, right. Okay, I mean, there's one thing what you said, what I also have experienced, and what sometimes is also a little bit discouraging, right? You have your group for 5 years, for 10 years and more, and you have the feeling the group is not really growing, right? There is maybe a core team, 2, 3 people, maybe even more, and some people really are working very hard for 2 years, 3 years, and then suddenly they disappear and so on. And this is sometimes, well, you feel it's really exhausting, and you feel you have so many good ideas, like we discussed what could be done here and there, but on the other hand, we don't even get the basics done. At least it feels like, right? And I think we need to stay really patient here. Things will come for sure. My view is, number one, the more we study and work with our group, the more we are changing as well. And so the core members, they are changing, and when they change, they are acting different to the world. And even though you probably don't notice yourself because it's coming gradually, but you are changing. And the more you are changing, you make an impression to others, and others see that's somehow a way I would also love to be, right? And I think the more we develop in that way, the more we will lead by example as well. And then people will grow and they will come. And some people take time. Some people need 2, 3 years and they go again and then they come back. At a certain point of time, they will start working with you, engage more and so on. And then the group is getting bigger. And I think this initial build up of a really good solid group, this simply really takes years, maybe even centuries. And then the growth will, because there is this multiplication factor. And we are, I mean, although we have the feeling 180 or so years, there were many more spiritists, and why we are with this really tiny group here, still we are in a different phase, but I think still we are on the right track, and we simply shouldn't give up and simply continue our way. Don't exhaust, go step by step, don't lose your courage, and things will work out. And that's at least a point, but I've gone through the same experience here in Munich as well. And yes.
Fortunately, we know that it's not just about the physical group, isn't it? There are a lot of spirits who come to this gathering. So even if it is one person that goes to the group physically, then that is, that is one person who is incarnated, but there are the group of spirits who come to study with us as well. So we need to keep going. And you are right, we cannot lose courage, we have to persist.
Lindauer, if I may, that institution that I'm connected in Brazil, something like 40 years ago, maybe a bit less, a lot of people move away. And the group responsible for the mediumship meeting, they even thought about stop the mediumship meeting. In the very last meeting, they were planning to stop the mediumship meeting because it was only one medium and one indoctrinator. The benefactor came and he was very assertive. Who you think you are? Do you think you have the right to stop what is happening? Maybe different words, but in that sense. There's a lot to come. Do not stop what you built so far. And today, that very same institution have 4 mediumship meetings per week, plus some extra meetings when they have to help people. So do not believe it's about to finish what you did. We'll finish if you allow that to finish. And another thing that I would like to mention is that we have to pay attention on the little details, because sometimes people coming to us asking to add the name in the prayer, mediumship problem. Somebody came to your fraternal assistance with a mediumship problem. 2, 3, 4 different people with mediumship scenarios that need attention. To me, that's clear. What are you waiting for to prepare to open up a mediumship meeting? So things like that, they come through time, but we don't observe the little details when they come. But they come, and they will come back again. So through those people that are looking for your assistance, is not just the initial assistance. Sometimes within the problem, they are bringing to you the hands, the workers that you need. But sometimes we don't pay attention on it. It's natural, we don't pay attention on it. But if we go a little bit deeper and observe 1 case, 2 cases, 3 cases of mediums, I have enough people to start. Young children, 2 young children, 3 young children, I have enough to start an evangelization. So things like that we miss. But if you pay attention, I can guarantee if you are prepared to do the work, the spiritual benefactors, they will send people to help you. But sometimes, as I said, we miss that little details. We miss that.
Indeed, that's really important to remember. Step by step and paying attention all the time. I'm looking a bit at the time as we're coming to an end. If you would still like to comment a bit, please go ahead. Or otherwise, just to respecting everybody's time, we could finish, and then whatever would keep in touch could continue. So any comment? No, otherwise I know we will continue next month, and there are lots of interesting topics coming, but I'm really, really grateful for this exchange that we're having, because we